Page 23, Sonatina in C by Clementi. It's got the melody in each hand. It goes back and forth. Have fun with it. Blah blah blah. They give you but finally they're giving you one dynamic in the middle of the stavs, and it's up to you to know how to apply it. I'll come back and talk about dynamics. Let's get the notes and the rhythms and all that out of the way first. This is in cut time. You see the C with a line through it? Cut time, or all abbrev, is the same as 2/2 time, where a half note gets a count. Isn't that lovely? So a quarter note would be like 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. An eighth note is 1 and a 2 and a 1, and a 16th note, forget it. It's just quick. So when I learn these, I temporarily put them in 4/4 time, so I can get the rhythm and the notes worked out, and then once I have that, I can put it back into cut time. So I'm going to talk about it in 4/4 time at first. Now, 1 sharp, so we're in the key of G major according to what this is, even though the Sonatina is in C major. So this is actually the second movement of the Sonatina. So hang in there. I mean, every movement of a sonatina or sonata doesn't have to be the same key. In fact, they rarely are. So the first movement might be in C major. So don't let the name throw you here. So this is in G major here. And you're starting out with third finger because we've got a 2 and a 1. That puts us in position for here. It's sort of where we want to be, but because of that F sharp, we're starting out. And this is common. I like this fingering out. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And reach up. 2, and 4. And then lift up. Third finger. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2. And then the next measure, you got to cross over the fourth finger. If you can do the C major scale 2 octaves up and down, this shouldn't be too hard because you have to do that sort of thing. It's different notes, but it's still the same movement. And then third finger. The idea is to connect them. Here, starting with the second measure of that line, from that B all the way down to that final G, all legato, all connected. Just be careful not to turn that dotted rhythm into a triplet. 1 and 2 and no, please don't do that. Those short notes got to be short, crisp. Like so, and then you lift up. Third line is third finger. 1 and 2 and 3. We're back to this rhythm we had it. And watch the fingering. It's second measure. 1, 2, 1. 2, 1. Because we changed positions. That's all we did. And then similar to what we've already had. And 2. The fourth finger on the F sharp. See, the note's a little different, but leave out that little grace note thing. So at the beginning of the line you're here. No. I disagree with the fingering at the end. The last 2 measures, you're here. They want third finger on that, and then third finger, and they want 2 and 4. That doesn't work. I'm going to suggest if you do that, you do 2 and 3. I want to connect it. I want to connect it. And then you can use thumb for the G. I'll come back to the phrasing in a minute. We can talk about this. This has partially to do with the style of the period. Phrasing is not necessarily how you actually play it. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Left hand. Keep the left hand underneath here. These are broken chords, you're just playing them. Second line, look out, reach up, because the last note on the first line is here. Then you reach up to connect, play it all legato. Then you can lift up. Third line, treble clef, you're up here. I would recommend on the second measure, the third line here, that you second finger on the A, because you got a B coming, and this way you're in position. Don't have to. You can use thumb and come up. It's just, I find in most cases with a lot of pieces we get similar type of fingering patterns. It's easier to go ahead and prepare the next note, even though it's not really the next note. So I'm going to prepare that B, so I'm going to use the second finger on that. And then the last line, you can come down, use third or fourth, whichever, but put the thumb on the G. And now we got bass clef again. The G in the last measure, the G is tied. You don't play it again, hold it down. Like so. So you need this fingering, a 4-1, to do that. You work that out slowly and then try and put the hands together. All we're interested in is notes and fingerings here and rhythm. So rest. Now, second line, look out, because you got to move up. Then you'd repeat that, but let's go on. You got to move up here, both hands. You got one beat to do it in. Good luck. Get up there. You may have to practice that move, going from here to get that move up here. Anyway, work that out slowly. I went kind of fast. You go slow. And then when you get that, then you can go back maybe and add, there's not a lot of articulation going on. There's some phrasing, which I'll have to talk about. And then the dynamics. The dynamics apply to the melody. In this case, it happens to all be in the right hand pretty much. So they keep the left hand soft. It's just whatever. Now you have a sforzando here for one note. Now you're going to crescendo up to loud for the next measure. Don't get loud until the second measure, so plan it out. Then you're going to diminuendo back down to soft. Then the third line, stay soft. Dolce means sweet, singing style type. Last line, you're going to crescendo up the first measure. It doesn't say how loud to get. Get a little louder. Up here, that's where you want. And then you diminuend back down to soft. Like so. That's the dynamics. Now, a little bit about this phrasing. It was the style of the time, back in the 1700s and etc., in the early 1800s. That when they put phrasing in the music, they did not cross a bar line with the phrases. Typically, they would not do it. So they would just phrase to the bar line, and that's it. I think it doesn't make a lot of sense in today's environment, but that's the way it was done. So a lot of times in this older music, especially if it's an text edition, that's one of the problems with text editions. So you have to be able to understand the style of the time, or you'll misinterpret it what it's saying. Is just because a phrase ends at a bar line doesn't mean it's the end of a phrase, you see, or a slur. You see what I'm talking about? In the second line here, they've slurred the first two measures together and then the third measure by itself. There's no reason for the third measure to be a phrase by itself. It should the whole line needs to be slurred together. So it's here. That's what it is. That's what it should all be connected. Same thing with the last line, connect the whole line. And then the third line, again, you either connect the line, or if you don't connect the line, you split it between the C and the C sharp in the second measure. That C sharp belongs connected to the D. You would not separate. You would not set that. Very unmusical to do that. So in the third line, if you're going to have a split in the phrase, do it right there. So it's a pickup to the next one. But that's a little out of character for this piece, because this piece doesn't use any pickups anywhere. And suddenly sticking in a pickup beat in the middle like that, yeah, that's questionable. So in my opinion, it's better to just phrase the whole. In fact, this whole piece, you can pretty much phrase every line all the way across. Now the first line's not so bad because there's a nice break between those measures. Now this sounds like another phrase. There you can break it, but everywhere else in here I would connect the whole line together as one phrase. Now you'll notice in the left hand, on the bottom staff, they're slurring each measure. Again, that gets back to where typically they would not draw a slur across a measure line. Doesn't matter. Play the left hand legato all the way across, all the way. The only time you lift up is when you have a rest. Otherwise, keep the left hand legato through the whole piece as best you can. I mean, in the last line, the last couple measures, you can't. Whatever. Now, let's talk about this little grace note they put in at the bottom. It's not really a grace note in this piece the way it's written. It's more like an appoggiatura. Doesn't matter. It's a little note. It's an ornament. All ornaments are optional. You could play this piece and leave it out and you'd be just fine. But they put it in here, and what it is it's an extra little note played with the A, and it like turns it. You play the two notes evenly. It's on the beat. This comes, so instead of the A, it's this. You play them evenly. Now, different people will interpret this slightly differently with a dotted rhythm. I'm going to just keep it simple for now. We're going to play that B, that little note, on the beat. When we would normally play the A, instead of the A, we'll play that B, and then we'll play the A right after it, like 2 16th notes. So that measure is, it's on the beat. Comes with the left hand. Like so. And that's how we do it. Different people, I mean, you're getting into these kind of ornaments and getting into a big gray area. People don't agree on what they're called. They don't agree on how they're interpreted. They don't agree on a lot of stuff on ornaments, and never have. But generally speaking, you would play that on the beat with the left hand, and because it's not really a grace note, it doesn't have a little line through the stem, it's an appoggia. You play it pretty much like a 16th note. It is written as a 16th note, so you play it as a 16th note on the beat. Just stick an extra little note in there. But again, it's optional. You can leave it out. They got the boxes in there that once you put in the meanings of the stuff in the boxes. Well, that un poco adagio, if you don't want me to tell you what they are, you better stop listening now or mute this. That means a little slow. Poco is a little, and adagio is a little bit slow. Sort of slow. Well, keep in mind it's in cut time. And the next one is the pointing to the FZ, that's forzando. We've already had an SFZ. It's the same thing. It means the same thing. A sforzando or a forzato or whatever you want. It means it's a serious loudness. It's that one note. Don't know why they wanted it there, but they did. Okay. And the second line, the crescendo, CRES, that means gradually get louder. And a little later, it's pointing to the P for piano, for soft. You know that already, I hope. And then in the last line, they have that diminuendo. It's pointing dim, means gradually gets softer. That's what these mean. So, okay, we're done. Now, we'll put it back in cut time. Yeah. Want to feel it in 2. A slow 2. 1, 2, 1, 1. And then going on to the third line, it's the same speed. You may think that's not slow. Well, keep in mind we're feeling it in 2. 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2. You see, a lot of times back in this style of music, the composers didn't put in a tempo. They controlled the tempo with the style of the piece and the time signature. So, and he could have put this in 4/4 or common time. He didn't want it to go that slow. You know, so let's just 1, 2. He wants it felt in 2. 1, 2, 1. That's how he wanted it felt. So that's what he did, and that's where it is. I would like to do a play with me on this to double check the notes and the rhythms. I'm not going to do the dynamics, and we are going to go slow, and I'm going to put the metronome on quarter notes, so it's going to beat quarter notes. Now we will take the repeats just like it's done, because repeats are there for a reason, so let's do it. I'll give us 4 counts, 4 quarter notes, and then we'll come in. 1, 2, ready, go. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. Repeat. Rest. Repeat. Rest.